right, everybody. Hello. Good afternoon. Welcome back to the channel, Culturally Appropriate. I'm your host, A. Lamont, and we're actually going to go backwards a little bit to a case that we first talked about back in the month of August in order to bring you forward to the latest development in the case. There have been some positive updates or progressions, and then you know, some situations here maybe not so positive for the suspect involved in the case. So we're going back to the city of Danville in Virginia, where on July 30th there was an incident involving the suspect on the left-hand side of your screen, known as Shotzi Buck Hayes. I always feel like I get a tongue twister when I talk or pronounce his name. And then the victim, Mr. Lee Volger, who is to the right of the screen, wearing the shades and the black turtleneck. He is a city councilman there. And on July the 30th, the suspect allegedly, set the victim on fire. Some good news to report. I think we should start off with that. If you look at the screen, the victim is no longer in the hospital, in the ICU, in the burn unit. He was actually released in the month of October, reportedly, and made his first appearance with the city council back around October the 22nd. So that is a plus in terms of the victim as it relates to his recovery. Uh, Undoubtedly, his recovery was unsure. The outcome of the situation, given the nature of the crime and given the nature of the pain and suffering that his body incurred, but happy to report that he is out, and there is footage out there where you see him moving around, and he's walking and things like that. Uh, no doubt, uh, glad to be on the other side of that matter in a sense, but never forgetting the process and what he had to go through and endure. Okay. Um, Parallel to that, there have been some progress or updates concerning the case against the suspect, Mr. Hayes. There was a preliminary hearing on September the 30th, wherein testimony was provided from three witnesses. Now, for those of you who may not know, at a preliminary hearing, this is where the judge in that case is hearing the evidence that is to be presented against, the suspect or the defendant, if you will, to see if it's weighty enough or if there's enough probable cause there to proceed forward in that case. Going to a grand jury, or if it's going to be a bench trial. And it's in this particular situation here, the judge did determine that to be so. Okay. Um, Testimony was provided by a colleague by the name of Stephen Seipel. He is a colleague of Mr. Volger with Showcase Magazine, and he testified, firsthand to what he saw that happened on that day. He actually was present when Mr. Hayes doused the victim with the gasoline, and he saw and heard and no doubt smelled that, and he saw the victim running down through the building, crying out for help, asking for someone to call 911. And so he did, and he said he proceeded to go out the back of the building, and then work his way around to the front, only to find Mr. Volger, the victim, lying in a flower bed there, and obviously, he had been set on fire. Okay. Next, we had testimony from one of the detectives on site, and that was Mr. Sergeant Clay. Mr. Sergeant Clay provided testimony as to the statement made by the suspect. One would say his admission of guilt. He did admit to having committed the act. He provided a motive stating that the victim and his wife, reportedly or allegedly, I should say allegedly have been having an affair. I do not believe there are any reports out there at this time to substantiate that, but that was his reason. And then he also gave his intent, what he intended to come out of that act, and he stated, according to Sergeant Clay, that his intent was to cause demise as it related to the victim. And then there, lastly, was the testimony of the victim's wife, Mrs. Volger, and I found her testimony to be quite moving for a number of reasons. Uh, Number one, I applauded her for being a strong woman in that moment, for being a strong wife in that moment, to be able to come out and, recount the pain and suffering that her husband incurred, and then also herself by virtue being that she's a wife. But she recalled the degree of the burns. They were second and third degree burns incurred to over half his body. I believe she stated 60% of his body surface. And then she stated that they being, the surgeons, the plastic surgeons, that they had to take another 35% um, of his surface skin to try and, heal that part that had been damaged. So, altogether, he suffered like about 95% of his surface body had suffered in a way. She also provided testimony to the degree that his lungs, from, inhaling the smoke, and no doubt, what was caused from the surface burns, that he had suffered trauma, and that he had suffered damage to his lungs. Now, something that I found to be interesting in the preliminary hearing that came up was uh, a motion from the defense on behalf of the uh, defendant of a plea insanity, a uh, motion to plead guilty by reason of insanity. And so, in the preliminary hearing, the judge said that he would, forward it over to the next judge, to have that hearing on that and to have that done, which he did do. And that that didn't go through like the defendant thought it would. Actually, there was an evaluation done sometime in the month of October, I believe, and it was the medical opinion that the defendant, he was saying to be able to stand trial. So uh, that knocked down, the insanity defense. So that's out the door. Um, a grand jury did pick up the case and did hear the case. The judge felt that there was probable cause to proceed forward, so he sent it forward to a grand jury. And this was actually an interesting turn of events, because not only did the grand jury return an indictment on the initial two charges, one being aggravated malicious wounding, and then the other one, attempted murder, but they added the additional charge being breaking and entering with the intent to commit murder. So the defendant, as it stands today, he has three felony charges, and he's currently being held without bond. He has been deemed competent to stand trial. And as it stands to date, I don't believe that there's any information out there as to, the trial date. So we'll continue to look out for that, and I'll come back and update you on that as soon as that comes out. So regarding this case, Lee Volger versus Shotzi Buckhays, continue to stay tuned. Check back to the channel. Also, could check the community wall postings, because sometimes I will put things there to try to keep you informed on what's going on here. And I will see you on the flip side. Thanks for coming through.